wide.
Hello everyone, I'm TG and I'm here to talk to you about this amazing game, Aliens Fireteam Elite. Today I'm taking a look at the Technician class, and this is one of the, if not the most important of all the classes, because you never want to go on the higher difficulties without a Technician at your side. This build is going to focus on setting and forgetting your turret and also slowing down the enemies as much as possible. As always, I'm going to be showing you guys my perk grid as well as the weapons that I'm using, but I'm going to leave out the attachments and scopes that I'm using because those are all up to you and your personal playstyle. So let's dive right in. So first and foremost, we're going to talk about the sentry turret, and we're going to be attaching quite a few things to it. So the sentry turret deploys a turret that fires automatically, and it can be picked up and redeployed. If you do not pick this thing up, it's going to have a cooldown of 12 seconds, but if you pick it up and move it, it's only going to have a cooldown of 2 seconds. Next, we're going to be turning it into the incinerator turret. So it's going to make your turret more durable, and it shoots flames at enemies, which don't cost friendly fire, by the way. Then we're using dynamic delivery system, which causes it to shoot 10% faster and do 25% more damage to armored elites. And lastly, we're using compatibility matrix, which means when your turret's active, you're dealing 10% more damage, which stacks 3 times up to a total of 30%. Next is probably one of the most important abilities in the game, charged coils. So you toss a device that lodges itself into your target and unleashes electrical shocks in the area, damaging all the enemies, but also reducing their movement speed by roughly 50%. Attached to that, we're using disruptive technology, which also reduces enemy damage dealt by 25% if they are under the effect of charged coils. And to round all this out, we're using enhanced range 3, which increases the radius of charged coils by 18%. Now, the important thing to note about charged coils is you get 3 of them, all on their own individual cooldown. So as the technician, you gotta be managing those cooldowns and making sure you're throwing your charged coils at choke points. Next, I have a part of every class's balanced breakfast: the technician's CQW training, mastery, and expertise. So this is going to increase your reload speed, accuracy, fire rate, magazine capacity, aim down sight speed, and stability, all by 15%. But don't forget, guys, if you don't like a specific part of this perk, use a different class's perk in its place, because you can definitely mix and match these trainings. Now, as for the odds and ends, we're using scalable machine learning. So when your turret kills an enemy, you gain 10% reload speed and 10% stability, which stacks 5 times. And on top of that, we're using modular integration, so every time you get a stack of scalable machine learning, you increase your accuracy and fire rate by 5%. So this brings the totals to 50% reload and 50% stability, as well as 25% accuracy and 25% fire rate when you have full stacks. So lastly is a pretty interesting one, resonating impact. When you or your turret stumble a target, they take 10% more damage, and your turret gains 10% more stumble chance. But how this becomes really interesting is whenever you add deep leverage. So when you or your turret shoots a target affected by a resonating impact, they have a 15% chance to be knocked down, and they can be knocked down once every 10 seconds. So this means it's really, really good if you're using a shotgun or if you're stacking stumble chance on any of your other weapons, because it all just works in unison with your turret to be quite the devastating force. And lastly, of course, a staple of mine, Surgeon Hands. So you can no longer be stumbled when interacting with objects, reviving allies, or using first aid kits. This, to me, is one of the most important skills in the game. I pretty much run it on every class, unless I'm doing something that's super damage focused and I really need that 2 extra perk slots. But you're never going to find yourself in a situation where you're using Surgeon Hands, where you're like, damn it, I wish I didn't use Surgeon Hands, because it's always useful. Now lastly, I just want to touch on cross-platform synergy, because I'm not actually attaching anything to it. Allies standing next to your turret take 10% less damage, and when you stand next to your turret regenerates 5% of its health every second. So the damage reduction is quite good, especially if you're paired with a phalanx, but overall the range is so small that it's not too big of a deal. And finally, let's take a look at the weapons that I'm using. So I went with the M10 automatic fire machine pistol, and the reason I went with this bad boy is because it unloads so fast at such a close range that you can really panic fire this thing quite often and it'll really help you out. But even though it's in the first slot, it's not actually going to be my go-to whenever it comes to my weapon. Unfortunately, like the phalanx, the technician only gets a handgun and a CQW, so you gotta be pretty careful. You gotta really think about what you're using. This thing, it reloads fast, it fires pretty much faster than any other pistol out there, so I think it's a pretty safe bet. And then we have the Pierre de Resistance, the Type 21 single-shot tactical shotgun. This is bar none my favorite shotgun in the game because unlike the other ones, it can actually be used at range. So this is why it's okay to pair it with the automatic pistol because you can be using this for most of the time. It has fast enough of a fire rate to use in both close combat and mid-range. And then whenever your enemies are far, far away, you don't have to worry too much because your team's there to provide support and you are going to be busy throwing the charged coils anyway. So by the time you take out your weapon, they're in mid-range. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's the build. I hope you try it out yourself and I hope it helps you out just a little bit. And don't forget, if you love Aliens Fireteam Elite, tune into the channel for live streams and more builds down the road. And as always, I'm TG. If you like what you saw, you know what to do.